So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Navamsa series of the week. And today we're going to be covering Venus in the sixth house of Navamsa chart, as in what happens when Venus is in the sixth house of your D9 Navamsa chart. Okay, not the birth chart, D9 Navamsa, which is the most important chart in Vedic astrology to confirm life events, the strength of planets, the married life, the fortune of the person, and the spiritual progress of the person. Okay, so it's a quite important chart. It's known as a D9 chart. And if you do not know what kind of planetary alignments you have in your D9 Navamsa and your other astrological details, check out the links here. Check out my full astrological report, including my books, consultation, and link to my academy, Maga Vedic Astrology Academy, where I'm currently teaching divisional charts. Actually, I'm going to be teaching Drikna, which is very, very interesting chart. Okay. Actually, it also kind of relates to marriage and spouse. The thing is, you guys got to understand, some divisional charts, even Dasamsha, marriage has a very important role to play, even in Dasamsha. So anyway, let's start with our Venus in the sixth house of Navamsa. So the first thing you have to understand when Venus goes into the sixth house of Navamsa, it's a clear indication that there is karma, unchangeable karma, to play with the spouse, to play and pay to the spouse. Meaning, just because Venus is in the sixth house doesn't mean that you're not going to get married. That is that is just nonsense, because I've seen too many charts with Venus in the sixth house, eighth house, they're married. Sometimes even a great happy life. Okay. But Venus in the sixth house shows unchangeable karma towards the person, meaning you are destined. First of all, everybody's destined to be with someone, right? But when Venus is in the sixth house, you are destined to be with someone to pay a certain amount of karma off. And most of the time, what I see with Venus in the sixth house is that a person has to provide more to the other person versus them getting that back in return. Because what happens with Venus in the sixth house, okay, and this also depends on the sign of the Venus. You have to see Venus is strong by sign placement, like its own sign, friendly signs, exalted sign. But Venus will show here that perhaps in your past life, you either left this person at the altar and went away with someone. You perhaps promised this person marriage and it never happened. You never promised, you never married this person. You cheated this person. And that becomes your prarabdha karma for this life, that you are supposed to marry this person, fulfill the promise that you made, whatever promise that you made to them, that I'm going to buy you 3 properties. You promised them 3 lifetimes ago, and they're coming back now. They're even though they won't care, they're marrying you, so you give them 3 properties, whether it's in a marriage or through divorce. So it's heavy dose of karma. Karma doesn't mean bad or good. Okay, so when I use the word karma, automatically we think of a heavy dose. No, it's something that needs to be taken care of with a particular person. Sometimes people get new souls. It's 2 new people coming together. Okay, but with this particular Venus, there is some unpaid debt to them. Now, if Venus is strong, that means you also have some unpaid debt to receive from this particular person. This is why it becomes a very heavy part. Like, you will, first of all, with Venus in the sixth house, it is an instant attraction. Why? Because the cosmos is like, they have designed this person for you. No matter what it is, it's like, boom, you just get this shock. Like, yes, this is the person. Why? Because you are to be with this person so you can pay back the debts off. The other thing we see, especially in a female's chart, because now you have to understand chart male versus female. In a female's chart, when Venus is in the sixth house, there would be less desire for sexual activity. Or usually a woman can make the husband feel guilty for sexual desire. The other thing we see is that through the marriage, okay, a person will take on tremendous amount of debt. There will be debt on behalf of the spouse. Now, if you're a female, you will have to take care of the debts of the husband. If you're a man, you can take care of debts of the wife. And how does this work in the relationship of, let's say, gay people or lesbians? If they're still your spouse, so Venus is the spouse, is the kark of spouse. So it doesn't matter even if, let's say, you're in a gay relationship or a lesbian relationship, Venus is the spouse. But can I say that 100%? No, because I have not done that research or test. I would love to, but the older you get, the less time you have for research. So hopefully new students of astrology, especially if you're, let's say, gay and you're an astrologer, perhaps you want to dedicate this time, to your, side of the community, so you can find the answers out. But usually Venus is the spouse. One thing we also see with Venus in the sixth house is that if Venus is weak in the sixth house, your enemies are far more powerful than you. They're far more powerful than you. You will have very powerful enemies coming at you. If Venus is strong, obviously you're going to be able to destroy those enemies. Now, here's the crux of the issue here in Navamsa with Venus. If Venus is exalted in the sixth house of the Navamsa, there will be the least amount of desire for marriage. And there will be much more desire to dedicate your love towards social reform, social welfare, wanting to kind of like devote yourself to either the world or God. So as much as people run after exalted Venus, oh, I want to marry a woman with exalted Venus. Really, I'm if somebody has dated a woman with debilitated Venus versus an exalted Venus, especially if that Venus was in Chitra or Uttar Falguni Nakshatra, see the difference that you may have felt between the two. 90%, if a man has been with, let's say, a woman in these two nakshatras, that would be their most memorable relationship that they could not have. And with the exalted Venus, it'll be the opposite. It'll be bland. You'll be like, I thought I was supposed to expect a whole lot. No, you expect it. You get it. Well, you know what you get in a marriage with exalted Venus is devotion. You get devotion. However, you can also get intoxication. Your spouse could be aloof. Your spouse could be even alcoholic or addicted to something. And it doesn't really matter if it's debilitated or exalted. Remember, exalted simply means that it's the highest state of a planet. And highest state of Venus is intoxicated with God. And on Earth, intoxicated with God happens rarely, but there's more intoxicated with chemicals. So that's something you have to understand. And yes, Venus in the sixth house will always bring some sort of like just bickering, like always, just some sort of arguments. Unless Venus, of course, is in a friendly sign and receives the aspect of Jupiter, then you will have far, 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 far less arguments. And you have to see the yoga that is being created in Navamsa with Venus. What kind of yoga Venus is in? Venus is in Bhadra Yoga. Venus is in Kartari Yoga. Venus is in Vishya Yoga. What yoga is being formed? That will easily tell us the quality of the marriage. And of course, the quality of the marriage will also then depend upon the dasha you're going through. If you're going through an excellent dasha, Perhaps from that dasha planet, Venus is in the particular house. And so it improves those conditions. If the dasha is bad and the Venus's position is bad, of course, it's not going to be great. But don't think Venus in the sixth house is just a significator of being divorced. No. One of the other things we see with Venus in the sixth house is naturally a person is attracted towards hidden information, hidden things, occult, mysticism, philosophy, Kundalini awakening, third eye awakening. They naturally get these things in life. They're actually much more interested in hidden philosophy. And Venus in the sixth house gains through disputes. They gain through disputes. They gain through litigation. And this may be true, especially if Venus is in a neutral, friendly, or, a good sign, like its own sign. And Venus here in the sixth house definitely gives heartbreaks through romance. And Venus makes mistakes in romance. Venus in the sixth house kind of loses that intelligence towards romance. How to deal with the situations of the marriage. And Venus is also in the sixth house. Usually brings about, I don't know if I should say this. No, I'll skip on this. I'll skip on this part. I'll skip on this part. Of course, if you're in my academy, you will know that. You will know these things, and especially once I get to the marriage matchmaking part, you'll get to understand more. But Venus in the sixth house shows that a person, if it especially is in a good position, shows a royal background, royal birth and royal background. Now, one thing we also see with Venus on the negative side, especially in a man's chart, and of course, you can't just judge a Venus in the sixth house in a man's chart and say that's it. You're going to be so wrong. You have to look at the condition of the Venus and some of the yogas being formed by Venus and nakshatra that Venus is placed in Navamsa. But a man could have a mistress with Venus in the sixth house. And that mistress will be there due to the lack of sexual chemistry and sexual satisfaction in a marriage. Or sometimes it's even romance. Your sex may be great, but there's no romance. And you want that romance. And you get the romance from another person. Okay? So guys, this was my analysis of Venus in the sixth house for Navamsa chart. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And if you want to know where your Venus is placed, all the other astrological details, check out the links here. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.